And welcome back to episode 50 of Backhouse Productions. Our newest guest, Robert Peterson. And this is a milestone for us because I can't believe we made it 50 episodes. We're still in this garage. It's 110 degrees in here. So I don't know why I get into podcasting. I guess my reasoning is I like to talk to people and unique individuals that are, they like to tell a story. And so that's what you do, Robert. You have your own podcast called Notorious Bakersfield Podcast. And you talk about a bunch of murder mysteries. So just dive into that. So how does that even begin?
Well, it's not just murders. It's anything that made headlines back in the day.
Okay.
30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. I have done some stories, some recent stories in the 2000s. But I like the older stories, the ones that are back in the 30s, 40s. The first story I did was in 1927. Was a murder. A guy killed his wife and stepdaughter, and that was the first story that really drug me in, that made me want to retell these stories, because it's something I had never heard of. And I was just going through old archived newspapers, and I read this story, and it's like, why the hell haven't I heard about this? Mm-hmm. And so originally I wanted to do a blog, but I'm not a very good writer.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'll just do a podcast.
And so when did you start this?
Started June 1st, 2021.
Okay.
Was the first episode. I started researching stories at the beginning of COVID. That's what kind of took me into this.
Everyone's in the house.
Yeah.
Nothing else going on.
Well, everybody's watching the Tiger King.
Oh my gosh, dude. I
was reading old archived newspapers and found all these interesting stories.
So what's your background? So how does someone get into podcasting? You said it was during COVID. What were you doing prior?
Well, I take care of my aunt. She's 96 years old right now. So
okay.
I'm a caregiver. So that gives me the time to do it, to research these stories. And,
So is there, okay, I'm trying to understand here, like, why does someone pick a niche podcast? Like, because usually, like, what we do is we bring on different people. We like to talk to them. But, like, I mean, you like to do your research. You like to find these stories. But, like, what about it captivates you? Like, into writing about it?
I like learning things that I didn't know before. Just discovering these things is the fascinating thing to me. The research is the fascinating thing. The thing about podcasting that I don't like is the recording, the editing, all of that, the producing.
He does that all. He hates it.
It sucks, dude.
That's the one thing I don't like, but I love the researching and discovering these things.
Okay, so let's just get into it. Let's just talk about stuff that you have researched that you found very interesting, and just bring it to light. Like what stories? You said it's murder, crime. It's not just that. It's Notorious Bakersfield covers all kinds of things. The one that I think is most interesting is that in the what a lot of people don't realize, there was a guy named Wiley Doris. Okay.
And he was a defense attorney. And he and his wife moved to Bakersfield. Well, actually, they moved to Taft and then came to Bakersfield. He opened his own law firm. And Wiley was going to run for California Assembly. And World War I broke out. And Wiley enlisted in World War I. And so his wife Doris, decided to run in his place to the California Assembly. And she won. And that was the first time California voters, or voters anywhere in the United States, elected a woman to a legislative body. And that year there were 3 women. It was 1917. It was 3 years before women were allowed to vote themselves.
Wow. So how was she able to run? How was she able to run?
It was legal in California to run.
Okay.
She just couldn't run for Congress, and women had the right to vote in state elections, but not federal elections.
Gotcha. So like the presidential election, you can't vote for it.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So a lot of people don't realize that.
That actually is a pretty unique fact.
Bakersfield voters sent one of the first women to the assembly.
Wow. Is there so what happens after that? Does she do anything?
She actually, her big thing was indigent criminal defense representation. That was her big political thing. She only served one term, and then she was voted out. She came back, ran again, and she won by like 5 votes.
Okay.
And so anyways.
So I wonder what the hashback was. Like, I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of people against her running in 1917, especially when girls couldn't even vote at the time, right?
Yeah.
Federally.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that say about Bakersfield in the early 1910s for them to be like, okay, we're willing to look beyond like conventional norms of like a guy always running for office, and we're going to say, okay, this girl's good enough to do it. Like, what? I just don't understand how like a trend like that just picks up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. So was there an upheaval at the time that was causing maybe like radical change?
Well, women fighting to vote because the women didn't get the right to vote until 1920. So there was still a big push for that.
But I'm thinking like, why would the people vote for someone like that unless there was something really bad happening on their expense, right? No idea.
I don't know.
Okay.
But the interesting thing about it, so she lost her next re-election. She came back, won twice more, and then the war was over with. She came back to Bakersfield and she worked in Wiley's law firm. And Wiley. And what got me interested in Wiley was that he's in all these articles, because he represented all these criminals. And in the 1940s, Bakersfield had a chief of police that had some corruption allegations, and he hired Wiley to represent him. And that's when Wiley's stock went up. If the police chief trusts you to represent you, you must be pretty good.
For sure.
So anyways, Wiley after that, I mean, any big case, any criminal or somebody accused of a crime hired Wiley if they had the means. The underpass at the on Chester Avenue where the railroad is, right there by the courthouse.
Yeah,
they're going to make that was just railroad crossing there, and when they wanted to build the underpass, there was. Anytime there's a road improvement, there's going to be opposition to it. And Wiley was one of the ones that opposed the underpass there. He wanted the underpass up by Q or P Street, not on Chester Avenue. So he kind of led that opposition. They were business owners. Okay,
so Robert, it's not a mystery podcast. You're a Bakersfield historian. At the truest sense, right? This is what the podcast is. You're
it's
Bakersfield historian.
History.
Okay. Yeah. So were you from Bakersfield all your life? Okay. What high school did you go to? Highland High School. Okay. So I'm not going to try and guess the year there, but
86.
86. Okay. So there was only like what, 10 high schools at the time? I mean, I'm sure, right? It was like North High, Highland, maybe Garces, BHS, Foothill, so on, South. Like what? There had to have been like something to make you really love Bakersfield. Like what about Bakersfield makes you want to talk about it? Talk about its, I guess it's...
I don't know. My mom was from here. She's a native of Bakersfield. Grew up, 307 South Chester Avenue.
Yeah.
My dad's not from here, but I don't know, it just kind of fascinated me. And be able to drive around to these areas and see... oh, this is where this happened, or this is where this happened.
Do you know anything about the underground tunnels under BHS?
No, everybody asked me about that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I find that interesting. I've never what do you know? So what are the routes down there? Like, why did they build it? What was the point of it?
Well, most of them are downtown, from what I understand, and I think they say is for the opium trade. The Chinese community was big into opium back then, and that's how they moved their opium, supposedly. I think it was not as nefarious as that. I think it's Bakersfield heat. It's cooler down below.
I was thinking maybe it was like during World War II, maybe like bomb threats.
No, it was before that. It was before World War II.
Okay.
But they did put in bomb shelters all over downtown.
Gotcha.
Well, let me finish about Wiley because
keep
really
going with
weird.
Wiley. Sorry.
So Wiley opposed the underpass there at Chester, and he wanted it at P and Q. And he lost, of course. They built the underpass there on Chester Avenue. While it was being built, Wiley was leaving his office, or leaving the courthouse to go to his office, and passed the railroad crossing at P Street, and was hit by a train and killed.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that ironic?
That is super ironic. My God. That's probably one of the worst ways to die, too. It's by a train. God, what is the likelihood of that happening?
And that was another thing that, trains are kind of a important part of Bakersfield's history. One of Bakersfield's worst mass casualty events was a train accident in Rosedale.
What happened?
A tanker truck with petroleum products crossed a railroad crossing and hit a passenger train.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Jesus.
13 people were killed.
So
I have pictures of them. So.
Oh yeah.
See, that's one of the things I'm into Bakersfield memorabilia, and I buy stuff on eBay, and I'll save that for later.
Okay. Oh wow, you brought a lot. This is cool. I mean, to get know a little bit about Bakersfield. Oh my gosh.
Now that was. Here's the other one.
Christ. That's horrible.
That was at Allen, where Allen, Meacham, Hageman all come together. Santa Fe, right there. It's different now. Of course, it's more streamlined. But anyways, that's where that was.
So Robert, let me ask you something. Okay, you're a Bakersfield historian, obviously. What do you think about the change that Bakersfield's going through with over the last 20 years, right? We keep building west. Old Bakersfield was on the east side of town. Why do you think that happened? Why did we never build east? Why does everything continue to go on the west side of town, even into Shafter? What is the movement from that? Why did we leave? Because I think of Luigi's as the old downtown, and that's why all those buildings are there, all those really neat buildings. But now they're kind of, they're kind of dilapidated a little bit. They're going down.
I don't know. I don't know why the Southwest and Northwest have had the growth that East Bakersfield just recently, in the last 10, 15 years has started building up out City in the Hills. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is interesting though. So I have a buddy here, and I was looking at your Instagram, and I saw this Pizzaville thing, this Pizzaville murder mystery, and my buddy works there right now. He's making pizzas. It's actually the old co-host.
Oh, okay.
His name's John Paul, and I was talking to him about that murder mystery, and Pizzaville's been around forever, right? It's been around since the 60s?
I think
60s, 70s.
Yeah.
I kind of want to hear about that. What happened with that? It was a pizza delivery guy?
It's a terrible story. I didn't know you were going to ask me, or I would have brushed up. I can't remember the kid's name. He was a pizza delivery guy, and he went out on a delivery, and it was a setup. They robbed him and killed him. And ever since then, and what's the owner's name?
It's something. God damn.
It's like Sparky or something like that.
Yeah. I totally forgot the name of it. He always, John Paul always talks about that guy. Yeah.
Anyways, I called him and confirmed that after that they stopped doing deliveries.
Damn.
Yeah. But they still have the restaurant runner. And
yeah.
Like that,
so they used to have a lot of locations though, right? Because I think there's only one now. I think there's maybe there used to be 2 or 3 more around Bakersfield.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Let's just get in. Let's get into history. Why not? What are you more fascinated about? World War II or World War I?
Probably World War II.
Obviously, yeah. Everyone picks World War II, but
because
we weren't even in the war barely in World War I. Kind of right. It was the last year.
I think, and also people are, not many of them left, but they're still around.
Yeah.
When I was younger, there were a lot of veterans from World War II.
Oh, maybe it's also because the U.S. came to the center stage as the the most prominent country after World War II. The results of it, right? World War I, we're trying to still be isolationists. We're trying to stay away from everything, and then now after World War II, now we want to have our hands over the entire globe. Mm-hmm. So that kind of, I don't know. That's supremacy. It's kind of an interesting story of how the U.S. came to power, coming out of the Depression. And then us getting out of the Depression because of the war. No one really talks about that. They only talk about the FDR policies. But yeah, I don't know. I'm talking about this right now because Oppenheimer came out today, right? Are you going to watch that?
Probably. Yeah.
What do you? God damn. What do you think about that stuff? The nuclear war. The nuclear arms race. God, God,
It's like
it's interesting though because it's such a morality issue talking about like dropping the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and to say that we're the only ones, and we make it seem like we're trying to be the most like we're trying to be the most pacifistic about it, right? Like, hey, don't ever do this, but we're the only ones who ever did it.
Exactly.
But I don't know, the Japanese, they didn't want to quit. They didn't want to quit.
And that's why I used to fight with my mom over this.
Okay. What was
because she was like,
pro-American
we didn't
side?
we didn't have a choice. Like we had to drop the bomb. The Japanese just wouldn't give up, and I'm like, and she was, she was graduating from high school when the war was going on, so all of her friends are going off to war and dying. So it was a horrible time for the country. So I'm glad I don't have to make that decision.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, God.
Drop a bomb and kill civilians?
I mean, an entire city.
Yeah.
I think, like, if you dropped a bomb on Bakersfield, all of Bakersfield's eviscerated.
It's horrible.
In a blink of an eye.
Yeah. So I'm just glad my job doesn't require those kind of...
So, Robert, let me ask you this. What is your favorite murder story?
My favorite murder story.
I mean, I guess it's a little,
My most satisfying story.
Satisfying, better word.
Is back in I think it was 1960.
Okay.
A little girl named Jody was dropped off on the side of the freeway, 99, south of Bakersfield, by her mother and stepfather. And she was told to stand on the side of the freeway, and her new mommy would come and get her. And of course, the cops found her. Truck driver saw her first. And the cops came, and nobody knew who this little girl Jody was. She said her name was Jody Smith. She was 5 years old. Mm-hmm. She said she lived in Bakersfield. And nobody claimed her. They went to all the Smiths in town in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Trying to find her family. And nobody knew who this little girl was. Finally, they put her picture in the newspaper. And it made the wires and went to newspapers all over the country. And somebody down in the L.A. area said, oh, that looks like a little girl that used to live next door to me. And so they called the Kern County Sheriff's Department, and they went down there and investigated, found out where this family was, and drove Jody down there and in the back of a police car. And Jody's mom was walking outside, and she goes, there's my mommy. And they went inside to talk to her. They left Jody in the car, went inside to talk to the lady and her husband. They're like, no, we don't know any Jody. Mm-hmm. They brought Jody in, and she goes, hi, Mommy.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I found out about that story on Facebook in the Kern County of old. Everybody was wondering what happened to Jody. And so I found Jody. And
she's still alive today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so did she ever get like a home? Like, did she just go to an adoption home?
She went to her dad's, her biological dad. Her mom was, divorced from her dad and was living with the stepdad.
I see. So she got custody over the kid, and she dropped the kid off.
Yeah.
Makes you think, why would she even fight for the custody if she didn't want the kid?
Well, exactly. And there's more to the story. There was another kid. I can't remember how many kids were involved. But Jody had a younger brother who just kind of went missing. So when the spotlight was on this family, they're like, wait, there's another kid that's supposed to be here. And come to find out, the stepdad had killed that kid 2 or 3 years before.
Dude, this is like
nobody even
the actual dad killed the kid.
The stepdad.
The stepdad killed the kid.
Yeah.
So he obviously went to prison, right?
Well, yes and no. He went to prison. Jody's mom testified against him, but I guess they impeached her testimony because she lied about something. Mm-hmm. So he got a new trial, and in the run-up to the new trial, he pled guilty to manslaughter.
My God.
So he only did a few years in prison.
Only a few years for that. Jeez.
For stomping a kid to death, yeah.
That's a movie. That's got to be a movie. Oh my God, that's like Revolutionary Road with DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. Have you seen that movie before? That's actually kind of reminds me of it.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyways, I was able to find Jody, talk to her, interview her for the podcast, and she's still surprisingly, she's not on great terms with her mom, but she still communicates with her.
She still
mom.
talks to her?
Yeah.
How do you even how do you resurrect? How do you even get a better relationship after that? That is awful.
After you dump them on the freeway.
Oh my God.
I said after that, I'd win every argument against my mom.
Yeah. What the? Holy. So did Jody ever write about it? Did she ever talk about it other than this podcast
No.
she came on with you?
And she never really talked to her kids about it. Her kids kind of found it by accident. Her kids were researching child abuse, and her case came up. It was one of the stories.
Okay.
And so she had to explain to her kids what happened.
Were you ever like a movie guy, Robert? Did you ever like movies?
Mm-hmm.
But
now I'm kind of bored by them.
like just the new ones coming out, or like you go back and watch the old ones? You
I go back
them?
and watch the old ones. I'm like, oh, that's so stupid.
I'm like, this is my impression of movies. It's like, I really do believe that movies were better back then. And when I mean back then, I 90s and up. Or not, yeah, 90s and down. I think early 2000s had some good movies. But when the 10s hit, it's really hard to make a good movie now. I really do. And I hope Oppenheimer's a good movie. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. It's I don't know. We were, the 80s and 90s is much more innocent times. But, yeah.
What would you say? Okay, what's your favorite movie then? Like, what are your
Pulp Fiction?
Dude, yes, I love Pulp Fiction. So you like all the Tarantino movies?
No.
Okay, what's I'm a fan of almost all of them. I'm not a big fan of Jackie Brown.
Oh, I love Jackie Brown.
Really?
Yes.
God. I mean, okay.
I'm
what's
not
a movie?
not a fan of Kill Bill.
Okay, yeah, Uma Thurman.
Inglourious Bastards, I didn't care for.
Come on.
No.
Come on, dude. What about that film you didn't like?
It was just too over the top.
With
Too over the top.
God, I thought it was so good. I mean, you didn't like the theater scene when they burned the theater with Hitler in there?
I mean, yeah, but it's just too over the top.
What did you like? Did you like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Not particularly.
Really? Okay.
I don't like alternate endings to movies.
You don't like
Even though I'm fascinated by Manson and the Manson murders and everything. And I know the guy that consulted on that movie. Consulted with Tarantino.
What was his role with the Manson? How does he?
He's kind of like a Manson scholar, I guess. He knows all about the Manson murders.
Okay, we found something here. Okay, did you hear anything about like the CIA conducting experiments on Charles Manson with the LSD pills and
I think
it's something crazy. Like it's a big conspiracy theory that a lot of people talk about. Have you never even heard anything like that?
No.
Well,
I think Manson was probably doing LSD all on his
LSD,
own.
but like the way, well, they were giving. I mean, LSD was it's synthetically made. It was getting pushed somewhere, right? Where was LSD coming from? In the '60s, it was coming, right?
Right.
And so
You want to hear the Kern County connection to the Charles Manson?
sure.
When Leo, what was Leo LaBianca's? Rosemary. When Leo and Rosemary LaBianca, they each had a kid. Rosemary had a kid, and Leo had kids from previous marriages. They didn't have any kids on their own. But anyways, Rosemary's son went camping up in Lake Isabella, and Leo took their boat up there for their son to use while they were up in Lake Isabella. Well, Leo and Rosemary drove up to Lake Isabella from their house in L.A., and they were going to bring their son home. Well, he wanted to stay. So Leo and Rosemary pulled the boat home and parked it in front of their house, and they went in and got murdered that night. And if you look up Rosemary Leno LaBianca's crime scene house or whatever, there's aerial views of the car with the boat attached to it, sitting on the street. And that's how the son, Stephen was the kid's name, I think. When he got home, when the family brought him home, that's how he knew something was up, because the car and the boat were still on the street. And Leno wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
He would have put the car and boat away. And so when he pulled up, he knew something was up.
Was it the people from the cult that killed him? Is that what you're saying? Okay. So I thought it was just the Sharon Tate murders. I didn't know there was more stories of them killing people.
Yeah.
So how many people did they kill?
Like, how many did they kill it?
I mean, how many times did they go out and do that? Right. I thought it was just twice. Yeah. It was the Sharon Tate murders and that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Leno and Rosemary LaBianca.
That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that. I thought there was only one murder.
Oh, no. But they did murder somebody before all that, like a couple years. I'm trying to think of what his name. He was some kind of Hollywood director or something. Yeah. I can't remember his name, but they murdered him too.
It's kind of interesting though. Like, how does a guy convince a group of people to go out and kill in his name? Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Like, is it? I mean, a lot of LSD, probably, right? A lot of manipulation through that.
And he's telling him to do it, and then he doesn't do it, so his fingerprints aren't on anything. You know?
But of course, it always comes back to the main guy, the main culprit.
Eventually.
Yeah, hopefully. Eventually. I mean, wait, didn't he die? He died in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Mercy Hospital.
Yeah, Mercy Hospital. Shout out Mercy Hospital. I think of like, we already talked about Hitler. We talked about Charles Manson. But it's kind of like I find a similar connection with those two because I think Manson was trying to be a singer, right? Manson was a failed singer. Hitler was a failed artist, right? He went to artist school. And there's just a switch, right? There's a switch the second people don't achieve that dream. And then they just become nihilistic, maybe in a sense where like nothing matters. I'm going to control my own destiny. I'm not going to rely on other people's thoughts about me. I'm just going to put matters into my own hands, which is really unique. And to think like, I just think like people like that, because I think Hitler had just a bigger cult. You know what I mean? Like you just got an entire country of people to buy into the fact that the Jews were evil people, right? I think it's just horrible.
And it helped him rise to power.
They voted him in. But how does it's a weird idea to think about with cults and how that guy is able to recruit everyday people, right? We're all accessible to it. There's like a loophole in our brains that can be tricked really easily into falling really absurd theories.
And I think it's fascinating because it happened before the internet age.
Yeah.
Where did they find them? Where
just randomly on the street.
I mean, now you can go into a chat room or what, that's it's like, this is before the internet. How'd they find each other?
Do you think it'd be easier to start a cult now?
Probably with the internet.
You think so? Yeah. I feel like the other way. Oh, yeah. I think there's so much information out there just to see if this guy's full of shit or her. Like maybe you just look it up and it's like, okay, that's a lie, right? There's no way. But I mean, it happens. It really does happen. And it makes you think of how just our brains, we think we're so much smarter than what we really are, and we can be easily tricked into things. And I heard this one thing. Actually, it was your caption. It was one of the captions, by Mark Twain. It's the reason why fiction is not as good as reality is because fiction has to follow a set of rules to make it a story. Where actually the actual real world, anything can really happen. There's no boundaries to it.
Stranger
right?
than fiction.
Yeah, stranger than fiction.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Spade Cooley?
Mm-mm.
He was a Western swing. He's kind of like one of the first guys that did a TV show, kind of like a radio show on TV, variety show.
Okay.
Huge popular in the 50s. And then Elvis came along and kind of took the thunder from Western country and Western music and Western swing. And so he kind of went off, built a house in Willow Springs up by Tehachapi, and he murdered his wife up there in Willow Springs and raped her with a broom handle. It was in front of their daughter.
Because of his failed career?
I don't know. He was just crazy.
He was
just
a crazy dude.
Nuts.
Yeah.
And then, so anyways, this is one of the. They termed it the trial of the century, and it was here in Kern County.
Oh my gosh. So which one is he?
That's Spade there.
Okay.
And then he was in prison. Ronald Reagan was getting ready to pardon him.
Uh-huh.
He got furloughed for a law enforcement ball, to play at a law enforcement ball. And it was in San Francisco, and he went and standing ovation, and finished his set, went backstage, and he died of a heart attack before he could get pardoned from Reagan.
Good. That's justice right there in a unique way, right?
It was the trial of the century.
Wow. Why was he gonna get pardoned?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess, God, I mean, and Tiger King can't get pardoned.
I know.
And Tiger King can't get pardoned. Come on.
Do you think maybe like they drugged him or something?
I don't know.
It is.
It's a mystery.
Dude, it literally is. I mean, it's crazy.
Spade Cooley. And the house is still out in Willow Springs. I want to go visit it sometime. I'm going to take my drone out.
I don't get the psychology of like really evil and sinister acts. It always revolves around children. Like why rape someone in front of your child, right? Like,
or why kill your kid?
Why? Yeah, why?
That's happened, multiple times.
And this is something I really wanted to talk about
over and over and over again. I see that.
Like this Tuesday we watched Sound of Freedom. And you can say what you want about it. Maybe it's a little leaning more right than most movies today are, but I mean it is a really heavy watch. And just to see like those people, like it's hard that like they actually made a film like that. They actually like make a scene where a guy is hooking up with like an 8-year-old girl, and it really made me mad. Like I don't know, like I just can't believe like something like that is going on, or like someone that much bigger and is treating like one of the most innocent things in the world like that. And it's
Did you ever see Precious? The movie
Precious? No.
Okay. It's one of the most. I had PTSD after I watched it. It's one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen, and I blocked it out, most of it out. It was just horrible, depressing, like what you talked about.
Is it about like child trafficking like that, or?
Well, yeah. I mean, she was raped, I think, by her stepdad or something, and had kids by her stepdad. And it was horrible. Yeah, Precious. If you want a real sad movie, watch that.
Oh my gosh! I mean, seriously, like after watching Sound of Freedom, I went home and I couldn't do anything. I was just like thinking about it. Like I can't. And it's like, what is it? 22 trillion. It's like a $22 billion business, right? All around the world, smuggling kids, sending them to people that are willing to pay for it, and it really makes you think. Like it makes me think if there's that much evil, there has to be an other side to it, right? There has to be like the opposite, right? There has to be a good side. Like I like to think the nature of man is mostly good for the most part, but when you hear stories like that, it really just you ponder it for a second, because it's like, are we all capable of doing this? Are we all just fighting this urge? Yeah. It's weird that it's for some people, they are willing to do that. They have no remorse for it. It's almost like maybe like a form of psychopathy a little bit. Like they can't feel that this is a wrong thing. They're amoral.
That's what I mean, researching these stories, people have done that against their own kids, killed their own kids because the wife and husband are getting a divorce, so the dad kills the kids. I mean, I've done 2 stories on that.
Where like he knows the family's getting separated, and if the family's separated, he's going to just kill them.
For whatever reason, I don't know.
Yeah.
One of them was right up at the country club.
That's good to know. That's a good thing to know. I'm nearby a murder scene.
There's another one down here.
Oh my God!
Off of Loma Linda.
I'm sure I'm sure we're right by Union too. I'm sure something like that happens all the time. God,
I'll tell you that one.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Cheyenne Cadena?
God, I wish
Rudy
I was.
Cadena?
I really wish I was.
Rudy Cadena was like a lieutenant in the Mexican mafia. Mm-hmm. He first killed a guy when he was like 15 years old on the Salon Juarez on East Truxton. Still there. He killed a guy on Halloween night, and he went to prison. And he rose through the ranks of the Mexican mafia. And he didn't found the Mexican mafia. It was already founded, but he led it. And he was from right here in Bakersfield, went to East High, and people still revere him. Revere him. He, so anyways, he was assassinated in prison, And one of the Mexican mafia's rivals was Familia Nuestra. And when Rudolph Cadena was assassinated in prison, his name's Rudy Cadena.
Yeah.
He went by Cheyenne in prison. When he was assassinated in prison, there was a guy from Bakersfield who was in the NF, and he kind of like talked shit about Rudy getting assassinated. He wasn't involved in the assassination. He just talked shit, like, this serves him right, you know.
Yeah.
So there was a hit out on him. So when he got out of prison, came back to Bakersfield, moved in with his brother in a house over here.
Yeah. Maybe this is why no one's on the east side anymore. Everyone's trying to get away from these crime scenes.
And they came and they killed both the brothers. And they got away with it.
Wow.
They caught the people who killed them. They put them in jail. And then the assistant district attorney violated their constitutional rights by not giving them a speedy trial, and they kicked them out. They never went to trial. They were never tried for those two murders. And because it was the Mexican mafia, they didn't have any witnesses. You know, at first they had witnesses, and then once they found out it was the Mexican mafia involved, then they're like, we don't want to talk about it.
We don't want to deal with it.
I didn't see anything.
You know what's so funny though? It's like there's so many stories. Like there's so many good like crime stories that get solved, but like there's got to be so many like even better stories that can't even get told because no one's gonna find out about it. Yeah. It's swept under the rug.
The guy that killed him, there's a video. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
He talks about it. He talks about the whole crime. It happened right down here.
Oh my gosh.
And talks about how they murdered both of them and they let the girl go, and he has no fear of being arrested or anything. He also works with the FBI on gangs and stuff like that. So.
Oh well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Robert, are you a conspiracy guy at all? I mean, if you're gonna, you're not really. So you just like whatever they tell you, you're just kind of take it at face value and kind of just saying, okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. So what do you? All right.
Like the moon landing?
I don't know about the moon landing. You know what? Even if it was fake, I'm glad we beat the Soviets. Whatever. I'm thinking about like the RFK. I mean, JFK. Sorry. I'm thinking RFK. He's now trying to run. But yeah, the JFK thing with the mob and how they just, they just wiped them out. But
okay. So let's go back to JFK.
Okay.
There's another piece of Bakersfield history. You've heard of the Warren Commission, right? Earl Warren. He's from Bakersfield.
Wow.
His dad was murdered right down on Nile Street.
God, it's always here. It's always on this side of town. I mean, I guess Bakersfield wasn't even a thing on the west side yet, but
it was when Earl Warren was Attorney General of California, and his dad was like owned property. It was just coming out of the Depression, so nobody had any money except him.
Yeah,
and it's one of the Bakersfield's oldest unsolved murders. Still have never arrested anybody or convicted anybody for the murder. No.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So I get why you like old Bakersfield history because is there anything? Do you even read up on stories happening today?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's just nothing like back then, right? Like there's no really good stories.
I like knowing what's going on around me. Like I listen to my scanner all the time. I have a police scanner.
Oh my gosh. I mean, oh God, dude. I mean, so through those stories, those are anecdotes, but like it seems like there's a lot of, there's a lot of corrupt officials. How they just, not a speedy trial. Let's let them off.
Makes you wonder. It makes you wonder.
It really does. I still think man's good.
And that assistant DA that screwed up like that, he went on and became a judge, Kern County Superior Court judge.
Yeah.
After a screw up like that, you get a promotion?
Well, it makes you think the people that are at the top, they had to do some very unjustly acts to get up there, right? Because if someone who's really, truly just, right, it's kind of hard to move up the ladder that fast, right? You kind of, it takes time. It's a procedure, it's waiting your turn. But no one wants to wait their turn who makes it that far up there, right? You got to cut some corners to get there.
I'll tell you a local conspiracy theory.
Okay.
You've heard of. How old are you?
I'm 21.
So you probably haven't even heard of it. You've heard of Mark Ponder, right?
God damn it, Robert! No. I haven't. I don't know who Mark Ponder is.
He was a realtor.
Okay.
Here in Bakersfield, and he died. Supposedly, he was in this part of town.
Yep. Yep. Naturally, makes sense.
He was having a party, and he wandered off, and he drowned below the bluffs. Mm-hmm. And anyways, a lot of local people think that somebody murdered him. I don't necessarily believe that. But
how do you think he drowned? I think he got too drunk. Yeah. There's a guy that he went to Garces in the 80s. I think he committed suicide, where he just like drove straight off the bluffs.
Oh.
Like he just literally just straight shot into it.
Yeah. A lot of people have driven off the bluffs.
Oh my God. Yeah. I do some running down there. It's kind of, it's nice. It's nice, but I don't know. I don't know. Have you noticed, I don't know. Do you think the homelessness in Bakersfield has definitely increased over the past couple of years?
Oh yeah.
Because I've definitely noticed like down at the bluffs where the road, there's a little track where you can run down there. And I noticed more and more homeless people are starting to go down there and just, like, live there, right? It's almost like a village. And I don't, like, how do you think that happens, right? There's an element of so many different factors of why someone becomes homeless, but there's got to be, there's something that you could definitely pinpoint of why that's happening, right, for the most part, or like a common theme of why someone becomes homeless.
I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think the biggest one is mental health and alcohol and drugs.
So do you think?
And I think, well,
do you think the mental health comes from the drug use, or do you think that they already have some mental issues? Both.
Both, yeah.
Because
I think what's out there really messes up your brain.
I mean, thinking about like just fentanyl too, coming like over the last decade.
Oh yeah.
And just how
crazy,
like a droplet of fentanyl can kill you.
Yeah.
But like people are addicted to it. Something like people don't die from it. So I really don't get that, how you can die from a droplet of fentanyl, but then people get addicted to it. So obviously they're surviving somehow, and then if they survive from it, they're addicted to it.
I mean, look at Prince. I mean, he overdosed a week before he actually died. He overdosed on his plane, and they landed and saved his life, and then he goes home, and a week later he ODs again after almost dying. So.
I know this one because it was a movie, but the Motley Crue guy, Nikki Sixx. You know who Motley Crue is?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm
Nikki,
not sure if I'm familiar with his.
So Nikki Sixx, he OD'd from heroin, and then after he got back from the hospital that same day, he injects himself with heroin again. Yeah. Like right after you get your life saved, you're so willing to go back to it.
That just shows you how powerful addiction is.
But it also makes you think how good the drug is.
Yeah.
I mean,
how it makes them feel.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be a great feeling.
But the thing. Well, my aunt fell and broke her hip a few months back, and I went in to see her in the emergency room, talking to the doctor, and she was just out.
Yeah.
And they had her on oxygen below her nose, or blowing it up into her nose. Mm-hmm. And he says, "Yeah, we have her on fentanyl, so that's suppressing her breathing. So that's why we have to give her oxygen." So they had to do that to her under medical supervision. These people are out on the street.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful crap.
Well, I mean, it's also like people that also are not homeless too, that have like a surgery, something goes wrong, they give you these pills to like kind of just like to mitigate the pain from the surgery. Mm-hmm. And then those people get addicted to those painkillers or whatever, all the above. And then their life just goes in a downward spiral. So,
but that's the thing that I don't understand. I mean, we can go into the hospital with all these awful surgeries, have these great drugs available to us, but when we're discharged, we're not addicted to those drugs. It's not until we get home and we're taking, whatever we're taking for the pain.
Dulles has a story too. You remember when you got that knee surgery and you were addicted to oxycodone?
Yeah.
Or like
good.
he wasn't addicted to it, right? It was only like a week, and then he got over it. But like his parents had to hide the oxycodone.
I would take it whenever I'd go to. I was vibing. I liked it.
But that's how it was.
It feels good.
Yeah.
When I had my wisdom teeth taken out, they gave me Percocet.
Ooh.
And I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. Percocets are fun.
And that's the weird thing is that Vicodin doesn't do anything for me. Vicodin makes me tired, and I can't do anything about it. I don't fall asleep. So
They gave you Percocets after your wisdom teeth?
Yeah.
I got nothing. I got like Tylenol.
See?
Yeah, they don't give you that
barely
anymore.
they
got
don't give
that.
it anymore.
Yeah, I got like all 4 taken out, and they just gave me like some Tylenol.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that makes
They
me
don't. I mean, you have to have your leg chopped off before they give you anything good anymore.
Yeah, true. I actually I got my lung punctured in my senior year of high school, and they were giving me like these weird blood thinners, and I kid you not, Robert, I had the craziest fucking dream. Like in the hospital, I was in the hospital for 10 days, but these blood thinners they were giving me, oh my god, it's the craziest drug ever. Like I think it was that.
It's not even mind altering, right?
No, it was just like I closed my eyes and I just felt like I was literally in the dream. Like I was immersed into the dream. Like it didn't.
Like Inception?
Kinda in a way. Like I felt like I was actually like, moving around in there. They were giving me like oxycodone too. Like it was, but those drugs are insane.
Maybe a combination of it all.
Yeah, but it like.
So when you were done with your surgery, they just gave you oxy.
Yeah.
And you got out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the problem, That's why we can't get any good drugs anymore.
Yeah.
When we have our wisdom teeth taken out, because people get out and then they get addicted, and then
So were you able to you took the Percocet and you were fine?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, like
it was like having 3 drinks.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whatever.
That's a gift, though. You know what? There's a lot of people that are just compulsive drinkers, and they can't stop until they black out. I know a couple people that can do that, and it's hard. Even for me, though, like, I don't know. Are you a guy that goes to a bar and has maybe 2 or 3 drinks? Like, okay, I feel a little buzzed, and I'm going to go home.
No, I'm not a drinker.
You're not? Okay, good for you. Good for you. There you go.
It's not that I'm against it. I just don't. I'm just not a drinker.
There's really no point to it. And that's another drug, too. It's like if you just, you're drinking a lot, you become an alcoholic, and you just go cold turkey, it can actually kill you.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
But I
smoke, so.
You smoke just cigarettes?
And weed.
Nice. There we go. This is where the investigation comes. I like the curiosity. Okay. So
but just to go to sleep.
Just to go to sleep. Okay.
Yeah.
So you never have like a high thought at night and you're just like, what happened then? Like you heard about like a story or something like, okay, this
I'm going
to look more into that.
Yeah, right? But then I can't remember it. So.
Yeah, that's what usually happens. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But it also makes me paranoid because I'll be like laying in bed and I'll hear an airplane fly over. I'm like, God, I hope that airplane doesn't crash.
The paranoid ones are the ones that survive. They're the only ones that survive. It's the people that don't know what's happening. So that's funny. Oh my gosh.
Anyways, that's my sleep supplement.
Nice.
I call it my magic potion.
I was trying to talk about I was trying to like kind of go around that, like, like the pills are bad and stuff, like you can get addicted to it, but like weed is like so much better, right? And it's hard to get addicted to it.
I've heard people that have a problem drinking have switched to weed and have quit the alcohol.
It seems like it's one of the most healthy alternatives to something. Like if you're going to have a substance,
I guess.
I mean, maybe what's the worst case scenario, right? You're never going to really, like I'm sure a lot of those crime scenes that you read about it. I bet alcohol's involved with a lot of them, right?
A lot of them, yeah.
I bet it's hard to find someone who's a pothead bashing someone's head, right? The pothead's just gonna be on the couch hanging out, right? What's the worst thing that can happen? You can consume 3,000 calories in a night from munchies.
I think there's a comedian that has a skit like that.
Seriously?
Yeah.
If you had to say though, do you ever? Are you a late night snacker, Robert?
Not really.
Do you fight the urge?
No, I snack all the time, so I don't.
Yeah, throughout the day. Yeah. God, man, it's so bad.
That's one thing. Weed doesn't make me get the munchies.
Okay.
I come by that naturally. I mean, but when I smoke, I hardly ever eat.
Wow.
It's just right before I go to bed. So.
Do you and then you also smoke cigarettes, right? Did you ever have you vaped before?
Yeah.
What do you think? Bullshit?
No, actually, I quit smoking for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I was all for vaping if it was going to help me quit smoking. Then I got a cold, and vape is heavier than smoke.
Oh, it's way worse.
And so it made me cough. So I have this cold, so I switched back to cigarettes. I wouldn't cough.
I think about
and
it.
I haven't gone back to vaping.
That's good. I mean, I think vaping's a joke. It's a shame that we got our generation all like, because I feel like smoking was going away, and then all of a sudden the vapes came in. It's like, oh, flavored e-cigarettes, right? And everyone's now back on it. Now it's like the new problem of our generation is getting off of vape. Yeah. But I think about like, I mean, this is why old movies are better, because I don't see how someone from Casino like De Niro's doing a vape. Oh, yeah. It looks so like it's just horrible, right? Like a cigarette is so much more badass than like an e-cigarette, like a little like pineapple flavor. Yeah. Like he's not doing that. Goodfellas, they're not doing that in there. They're smoking cigarettes, right?
That's like Bryan Cranston was in a movie. What was the name of it? It was a few years ago, probably about 10 years ago. And he played a writer, and the writer smoked all the time.
Truman or Thurman.
Yeah.
It's Thurman.
Yeah. And it's like, and I was thinking, I wonder if he's really a smoker. You know, if he's not, he's going to be a smoker when he's done filming the movie. You know, it doesn't take much to get addicted.
Are those actual cigarettes? You think?
I don't know.
I wonder. I can't be. I don't know. Maybe they're actors, right? They're paid to act like another person, so they can get over it. But
because every scene he had a cigarette, so you know what movie I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's based like.
I mean, he's in the bathtub,
30s, 40s.
He has a cigarette sticking out of his mouth. Yeah.
God, what do you think about the writer strike going on right now? Have you heard anything about it? I think it's a wake up call. I think it's a real wake up call, because I think they've been making a lot of bad movies over the last 10 years. And I think they're going to realize that there's a lot of other alternatives to just movies and like TV shows. Like you go on YouTube now, and there's people. There's independent journal. Like we're doing that right now, right? And I think there's a lot more access to entertainment other than Hollywood writing it for us, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't think they're going to win. I really don't.
I think they will eventually. They have too much content, and now the directors and the other union is in on it. But I hear that they get screwed out of anything that goes to streaming. Mm-hmm. All the writers and everything just gets passed over. Like if you have something that goes straight
like there's no residuals.
Yeah. So that's what I hear.
Yeah.
So they got to take that into account.
Yeah.
Because I don't see movie theaters lasting another 10 years.
Really? Mm. I think it's the only. I don't know. I think movie theaters are going to be around still.
I don't think so.
I think it'll
be a nostalgic thing.
That's what I think it'll be that exactly, because I think it's hard to watch a movie at my house and not go on my phone. Mm-hmm. Where in a movie theater you actually have to pay attention,
right?
And you don't have to go on your phone, right? It's you're precautious to others around you, so you don't go on your phone, and so you actually can observe the movie.
That's why. Do you remember when Movie Pass was out?
Movie Pass.
You're too young.
I'm too young. Damn it. I'm too young.
You paid like $5 a month or something, and you go see as many movies as you want.
Wow,
and
really?
Yeah, they went out of business. But anyways, I did that for about 6 months when it shut down, and that's why I like going to the movies, because when you're at the movies, you're following the movie. You're not on your phone, and
no distractions.
I'm exactly like you. When I'm at home, let me see what's happeing.
I mean, it's like a dopamine rush. We're all addicted to our phones. Yeah. I think people should make it like, if you're going into a movie theater, drop your phone off. Like even at like comedy shows, or you go to like these like entertainers. Most of the time they make you drop your phones. They get rid of your phones, because we don't want anybody recording.
Yeah. Garth Brooks, I think, just did that.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not there to half look at your phone, half look at the show. You're there.
Well, and it pisses me off when I'm like in a concert or something, and somebody's holding their phone up right in front of my face. It's like, I didn't come here to see your phone in my face.
But this is why I think back in the day, it's like, I think stories were better because I think people were actually in the moment,
experiencing it.
You know what I mean? Like people are
without distraction.
There's nothing that you can. There's no escape, right? This is the act. This is your reality, and that's all that's there, right? I go on my phone, I can see what's going on in Japan. I can go see
Yeah.
what's going on all over the world, all these breaking stories. There's always headlines, right? And then also another thing
distraction.
with the news circuit too, it's like there's a big time story that comes out, it's out of the news in 2 days, right?
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, you know, you have like the
It stayed in
OJ
the-
trial, it's the,
Yeah.
no one, that's all they're talking
Yeah.
about, right? And it's actually entertaining, you get all the details.
And that's what I like about the old stories is that journalists, you know, somebody was murdered, you know, the newspaper would send a reporter out and they'd talk to the neighbors and they'd get to the bottom of it. And now it's, you know, they write their story by a press release that the police department gives them. They don't even identify the victim. And, you know, the coroner is going to do that a week later. So then the coroner sends out a press release, and then the newspaper writes a story about that press release. They don't find any original information. It's all writing by press releases.
And it's all about clickbait, it's all about headline, you know, just like anything that you can throw out there for someone to click on it.
Yeah.
That's what it has. That's the name of news.
Well,
now.
it'd be different if the local news was like that. They don't even try to clickbait. They just print the press release.
If you're trying to find actual news, you have to look at local news because that's where all these big
Yeah.
networks are they're
Yeah.
handpicking certain stories from local news networks to use and then make it a big headline. Whereas you go on the local news, it's just the news.
Yeah.
Right. It's nothing else.
And that's what I like about covering the old stories because the information is in those stories. If you want to get information about a current story, if it goes to court, you can get the information. But if it doesn't go to court, if the guy pleads guilty or they never solve it, you're not going to get that much information.
Absolutely.
No.
Even though I think the way movies are made are completely different now. It's way more fast paced, right? It's hard to make it's hard to have a Chinatown.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a Godfather, right? Where it's like a long 3.5 hour movie where it's like all like there's
Or on
multiple
Golden Planet.
layers to the story where it's like I have an hour and a half, whatever you can give me, and make it like really flashy and shiny for me to watch. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to understand things. I just want something entertaining. And so I don't know.
What drives me crazy about these true crime documentaries on Netflix is that they tell a story. They tell a story in like 4 episodes. It's like you could have done that in an episode. You know, you could have gotten all that in, but they drag it out for 4 episodes. And that's why I've designed Notorious Bakersfield to tell the story within 15, 20 minutes. So,
Quick, people can understand
to
it.
the point, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got to play into your consumers, right? That's, I mean, not a lot of people have a lot of time to sit down and actually like get into a story. So it's like 15 minutes out.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is why also, this is another thing why I like podcasting, because I think there's the world's so fast paced now. There's so many things evolving. Like, this is like the one thing where you can actually sit down with someone and have like an hour conversation and actually get to know someone and actually understand where they're coming from, why they're doing what they're doing, right? Instead of like a 5-minute segment where you have to ask them like 3 big questions, they talk about it, we're moving forward.
Yeah.
No, that's really, I mean, that's why I love podcasting, honestly, because I think it's a completely different medium than like
It is.
ever before.
It is. And you can do it out of your garage.
You can do it out of your garage. We like to call this a studio, and you know what? We also like to call it the sauna.
You know what? It is a sauna.
It's pretty fucking odd.
I've lost 10 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know where my
apologize.
studio is?
Where?
In my walk-in closet.
No way. How big's your closet?
It's just a walk-in closet. So I'm doing my podcast next to my dirty clothes hamper.
Hey, you know what? And this is why the writers are. I don't know if they're going to win. I think there's a lot of us.
Oh, they will.
I think there's a lot of us. I don't know. I don't think those big guys are going to want to pay them.
They will.
I mean, maybe, but I
But
don't know.
big. I guess the big contention is AI, and it's scary.
Yeah, it's
Think about
Yeah.
it. The studios are going to create a character like think of a superstar character like Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
They could create a Tom Cruise, somebody totally different than Tom Cruise, all on their own. They don't have to have an actor. They don't have to pay an actor. It's going to be all
They
AI.
could CGI him,
Yeah.
and then have the AI write a script.
Yeah.
That's just as God.
Yeah.
That's gonna make me mad.
And that's what they're fighting for. I mean, they did it with cartoons. You know?
What do you mean?
I mean, they've created characters out of nobody.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
That's what cartoons are.
Yeah.
So if they create a character that's supposed to be a human, that's what it's going to be.
You ever watch Black Mirror?
What is it?
Black Mirror on Netflix?
No.
It's just like kind of like this dystopian like scenarios that can happen in the future, and like the newest season, there was an episode about how there's an actress, I think it's Selma Hayek, like she's like gives up her rights of like her image, so like whenever like a studio wants to make a movie on her, like a series, she doesn't even have to be there. They're just paying her to give her image up, and then they can make make her do anything they want her to do. And it's like the most egregious things that she's doing, and she's super upset about it. And it's just like, I mean, that's like,
I never agreed
it's
to
not
that.
far off.
Yeah.
You know, it's not far off. I think that's something that could happen.
And they do. I guess they do that a lot now. You know, like if they have to reshoot a scene, they can put people in the background that, you know, were there originally, but they don't want to call them back in and stuff like that. So.
Oh, well, that's why I'm a Christopher Nolan fan too, because he actually did set off an atomic bomb in this movie. An actual atomic bomb. There's no CGI on that. That's why I'm excited to see it. Seriously. I mean, that is, god damn, you have to be a pretty damn good actor to convince some people to drop a bomb for your movie. Huh? Pretty crazy.
Where'd they do it?
I don't know where they did it at, but I saw just like behind the scenes about like these people were like talking about like the preparation it took to set off the bomb and like getting the shot just right for it. And I mean, they actually did it. Like, so if you watch that movie, that's a real atomic bomb going on.
Really?
Yeah. Really
I'd be
interesting
curious
stuff.
where they did it.
Probably like, honestly, middle of the country, maybe, right? Or, I mean, just there's so much land that's like unused too.
I mean, there's pretty powerful bombs that aren't nuclear. You know?
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going with nuclear.
Those bunker buster bombs.
How are we doing on time here, Pete?
We're at an hour, 2 minutes.
Okay. What do you plan on doing with your podcast? What is something that you want to keep doing, or is there something you want to change up, or do you want to just keep doing the same thing?
Keep doing the same thing. I'm writing a book. I brought on a lady to help me write, and I'm taking some of these stories and writing them into a book, different short stories. And so hopefully that will be out for the holidays.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that.
So just a bunch of like short stories pieced together in a book.
But basically the same stories that are in the podcast.
Okay.
They're just going to be in book form because there's a whole generation out there that aren't listening to podcasts that they're going to, you know.
Yeah, maybe they'll
they're
read.
missing out. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the Manson story, that's really interesting because I thought it was just the Sharon Tate murderers.
Oh, no.
And then there's somebody from Bakersfield that got killed by them. That's
Not from Bakersfield, but
like
he had traveled
Lake Isabella and they
yeah.
got killed there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool. Gosh, man.
Here,
Well,
I'll show you something. Okay, you're familiar with the fairgrounds, right?
yes.
You've been to the fair.
Yes.
Back, the fairgrounds used to be over where Sam Lynn Ballpark is.
God, I wish they still did it there.
Yeah, they outgrew it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think some of the museum buildings are left over from the fairgrounds. So anyways, they moved to the current location on P Street, Union and P.
Yeah.
And about 2 or 3 years before that,
Are you serious? The dog just opened the door. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Keep going. Keep going. It's fine. We're good. Pete, put him back out. Sorry. I don't know how he did that. Sorry, keep going.
2 or 3 years before the fair moved, it was just a vacant field, big, huge vacant field, that whole, where the fairgrounds are. And a little girl, well, I guess neighborhood kids used to play in that field. And they dug a hole, they dug a cave in the hole, and they called it their pirate cave. And so anyways, this little girl, her name was Myretta Jones. She was like 5 or 6 years old. And her grandma sent her to the market to get something for dinner, an ingredient she was missing. And while she was there, another little girl, 12 or 13 years old, kidnapped her, took her to that hole, and murdered her.
The little girl did?
Yeah.
The 13-year-old girl killed her.
13-year-old girl killed a little 5, 6-year-old girl.
Do you ever discover what the motive was for it, or do you just
No idea.
that's just the story?
No idea. But I guess that little girl grew up, and the one that killed her, I guess, did okay. But anyways, this is the crime scene photo for that, and that's right where the fairgrounds are now.
Dear God.
And you can see the
in that hole? She was buried in that hole?
No, she wasn't buried in the hole, but that's where the kids played. But she
Wow.
was somewhere in that hole.
Wow. Oh man, do you ever look up good stories, like good, like happy, feel good stories, or is it all just like really?
No, it's not. I did a real heavy story about when some kids made this other kid dig his own grave and then they killed him. And it was just really depressing. So I wanted to do something different for the next episode. So I did a research streaking in Bakersfield.
Okay. Okay.
And in the early 70s, it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
BC even had a club, and Cal State had a club, and they'd meet and they'd streak the Valley Plaza, and it was a big deal.
BC and Cal State had clubs.
Unofficial clubs, yeah, streaking clubs.
Like there was adults involved with it, or there was just
It was just the
students gathering.
Yeah, the students, yeah.
Oh my God, what is that?
And they'd
Just
streak at the BC football game.
What is that? Just a sign of disobedience, or
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
just like stick it to the man? Like I don't get the point of streaking.
Oh yeah, officials were going crazy trying to catch them.
Oh my God, that would be the funniest thing if that happened in a game this year.
Listen to that episode.
I will. Well, it's one of the most recent ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I saw like some guy running naked.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah,
I thought I saw that.
that was a big thing in the early 70s. They streaked on the Academy Awards.
Yeah. Okay. God damn.
Anyways.
That is funny. That is funny.
There's times I want to do, lighten the mood.
See, like now that makes me smile a little bit, right? That's like
Not a little-
instead of like making
not a
the
little
kid bury his
girl.
grave for
Yeah.
him. Oh my God. Dude, I mean, do you ever like? God, do you ever? I mean, it's got to bring your mood down looking these things up.
Sometimes. I've gotten jaded. There was one story that I had never heard of. It happened in Park Stockdale. Mom and Dad were getting a divorce. The dad moved out of town. He came back. The mom was going to take the kids to the babysitter, and the dad says, "Oh, I'll stay with them." Mom's like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah.
And he murdered his two kids that night. And I mean, not just murder, he bashed him in with a frying pan. And when I was researching this story, I just happened to run across it and started reading it, and I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah.
And it just really, yeah.
What was it? What was the year?
Early 70s, I believe.
So you think there's a part of that, like domestic abuse, coming from like people coming out of the war, out of Vietnam, out of Korea, out of World War II, where it's like you have post-traumatic stress disorder, and they just can't fight those demons.
I think so. I think that there were a lot of, after World War II, a lot of, not necessarily domestic abuse, but a lot of problems, I think.
But a lot of alcoholism,
And
right,
they
to
just
cope
didn't-
with it.
They just didn't understand it back then.
Yeah, they couldn't even like label.
I mean, they don't understand it now, Mm-hmm. We have veterans committing suicide. What's the number? That are came back from Afghanistan.
Or become
Iraq.
homeless,
Yeah.
mental illness
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it was a big issue back after World War II.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
There was one guy, he was a cop, and his name was Lacey High, and he was a World War II veteran, got hired with the Bakersfield Police Department, and he went out on a date. He and his wife were separated. He went on a date and got in the fight with his date, and then started walking down, what's the street? 16th Street?
Okay.
Where the federal courthouse is. That used to be where the jail was, the Kern County Jail.
Thank God it's not there anymore. Feel a lot safer.
So he was walking down there, back behind there, shooting out street lights. Mm-hmm. And the Bakersfield Police Department came, recognized Lacey, and so they were like backing off. They're holding their, they know who he is, and they're trying to talk sense into him. Well, the sheriff deputies in the jail, they heard this guy's walking down the street. They didn't know he was a cop, and they came out and they blew him away. And he definitely had mental issues. So, you just don't do that.
So what is your? Because this is, we know the problem. but like, how do you respond to like a problem like that? If mental illness is almost like an epidemic in this country and it's becoming more prevalent, it's becoming more common around, like everyone knows someone with mental illness, can you alleviate those problems, or what do you just medicate them? What do you do? It's hard to, and it makes sense why those people are in the streets and they're addicted to a substance. They have mental illness.
Who would hire them? I mean, that's what people say. Well, they need to get a job. Well, who? Okay, are you going to hire them? I mean, they're yelling at clouds. You know?
At that point, they're unsalvageable, right? You can't get them out of the hole.
Yeah.
But,
and then when you talk about the housing, okay, we'll take over this hotel and we'll house them. What, are you going to go for the worst of the worst, or are you going to go for the better of the worst? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you can't. It's hard to build houses for them, because then who's going to pay for it? The taxpayers.
Yeah.
And then the prices are going to get raised. Yeah. Then everyone's going to feel that effect. So I guess this is more like a conservative value here, where it's like, okay, you have to build stronger family structures, right? And you need to make education better. How do we get these people more educated so that they don't fall into these traps that they're going to face down the road, or these problems that they're going to have to deal with in adversity? And like, do they have the family structure that teach them these core values and make them cope with these problems? And it's like, not a lot of those people didn't have that. They were deprived of those needs. And I guess to say, well, let's just build houses for them. Well, they're going to, it's almost like that. It's almost like the dog that just ran in. They're going to run away.
Yeah.
They'll run away. I mean, they really have no foundational, like, they have no substance of like routine. They have no responsibility. How I have to be here today. Yeah. It's almost like I'm not here. I'm everywhere but here. That's basically what it is.
Then I drive by them on the street and it's like, oh my God, how can they be out here in 110?
Oh, there's a guy that was just sleeping on the sidewalk. Yeah. Basically 120 degrees on the sidewalk. They don't feel it. That's a superpower that we need to look into. So they have some superpowers, I swear. It's crazy. But here's another thing. There's not a lot of fat people. There's not a lot of fat homeless people. That's a thing. So I guess that's a plus. Gosh.
Here, I brought you guys bumper stickers.
Oh, appreciate this. Thank you. I'm definitely going to start listening to your podcast. I mean, thank you for reaching out, honestly.
Thank you.
And guys, if you made it this far, we would really appreciate if you guys reach out and just come and talk to us. Come into the garage, sweat a little bit, get a nice little workout in. Robert, you're good with the workout for the day. We got it done here.
Do I look like I work out?
Maybe walk a little bit. I don't know. You definitely got to work out today, just sitting here and talking. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for the winter again.
I know. This is when I hate Bakersfield the most.
This is the worst time, and we had it good for a while too.
Oh yeah, we were spoiled the whole month of June.
Oh, I loved it. I was running, and I never even thought about, oh wow, it's too hot. Now,
I think summertime is awful unless you're in San Diego. It's
or at the beach. Yeah.
And I think the whole country. I went to Washington D.C. last summer. It was horrible. Mm-hmm.
And it's humid over there on the East Coast.
Yeah. So the whole country is, miserable during the summertime. So Bakersfield, I think the rest of the year is perfect for weather-wise. Are they telling you times?
I don't know. No, I don't know why they're doing that. Okay.
But anyways, the other 9 months out of the year, you can't beat Bakersfield's weather.
We do get a good winter. It gets down to maybe 30 at the worst. Yeah. It's never going to snow here. Yeah, no, I agree. That is a good point. But it doesn't get cold though until October. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like 100 degrees in September still. Yeah. Right? I mean, we've played in that weather. It's the worst thing in the world, especially the turf at BC. It's like another 10 degrees hotter. That's
another. So you know who Coach Bowser is, right?
Coach. Oh, do you know Coach Bowser? Was he there when you were there?
Bowser.
I've heard that name before.
Oh yeah, he was like the head coach of BC
I've heard that
for years and years and years.
Was he before Chudy?
Yeah,
before Chudy. I mean, like was he the guy before Chudy, or was he kind of there in the 80s?
He was in the 80s.
80s, okay. Yeah. Carl Bowser.
Yeah, I did a story on him. That there was a Cal Poly football team. They went to Toledo, Ohio to play a game, and their airplane crashed.
Yeah.
bunch of Bakersfield guys were on it. Carl Bowser was one of them. Coach
And he
Bowser.
survived the plane crash?
Survived, yeah.
That was a movie. That was Matthew McConaughey.
No, it wasn't that movie, but yeah.
It wasn't that? Oh, it was Marshall.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
Marshall. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
But anyways, yeah. So I think like 7 Bakersfield guys were on that.
Wow.
On that plane, Carl Bowser, and then there was a coach from West High was also on the plane. So.
Okay, so if we've learned anything on this podcast today, it's don't live on the east side of town. There's been a lot of murders, and don't not
It's
go on
all
the planes. It's all over. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's something that you can never run out of talking about is murders. I mean, it's literally one of the most common things to talk about. There's so many storylines about it. But this has been great. This has been really informational, and honestly, I'd like to do this again.
Yeah.
I'd like to do this again in a nice air-conditioned room. And
when you've listened to a few more episodes.
Listen to a few more episodes, but I'm definitely going to put your link in the bio. We're going to shout you out. Yeah. And, honestly, thank you for reaching out. This has been...
Thanks for having me.
I mean, this is episode 50 for us. It's been I can't believe we made it 50 episodes already. I mean, seriously, we started last year. And
how often do you release them?
I mean, usually for a while, like the first 7 months, we were posting every week.
Oh.
And then, we stopped. Like I said, we stopped for 2.5 months, and then when the summer picked up, in May, we started doing them again, mostly weekly episodes. So this should come out next week.
Okay.
So appreciate you.
I release one every Tuesday.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out what day is good to post, right? Because if you post it on the weekends, people are doing other things at that.
But you know what? I've discovered it doesn't really matter. If you decide to do it on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, people are going to find you if they enjoy it. I don't think it matters. There's people that only listen to podcasts on the weekends or when they're. That's why I figured. People are doing other things usually when they're with you guys having cameras different.
Yeah.
People are usually doing other activities. They're working out, doing the dishes, jogging, whatever, when they're listening to podcasts. So.
I definitely do that. I mean, I'm a big podcast fan. So, well, thanks for coming on, Robert.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for listening, guys. Yep. Have a good one.